let's do one last headset check here. Zevia, can you hear me? Zevia? Hey. Oh my god, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him, alright? I'm gonna kill him. I need so time. Do you think it's so hard to ask that he not throw his headset down like that when his damn mic is still on?
Oh my god, dude, on your headset right now where I'll blow your brains out. So help me God.
When did you get a shotgun? Jesus Christ! Dude, he is insane!
Good, everyone's back on headset. We're ready to do a show. Fantastic, I'm glad to hear it. Let's go ahead and run the new intro.
Yo, DJ, spin that Nova Bomb 2 on YouTube requested recommendations on making a successful guild. So today I'll be talking a bit about tips on being a leader and how to create and run a guild. This certainly won't encompass everything that needs to be said about running one, as that would likely be a several hours long video. So if you think I've left something out that you want to talk about, feel free to post comments to continue the discussion. Your first course of action is that you have to figure out what you want your guild to be. This sounds stupidly obvious, but it's much more difficult in practice than most people with the ambition to make a guild realize. Are you a PvP guild? What kind of PvP guild? Are you focused on making battlegrounds pre-mades? Which battlegrounds? Are you focused on arenas? Are you focused on raiding? Are you a leveling guild? Depending on how you answer these questions, it will affect who you want to join. A guild for arenas doesn't really require that most people in the guild play together very much, and would probably function more like a honed-down looking for arena team channel. It also helps you advertise for your guild. If you say you're a guild that's all about PvP and you're looking to recruit people who want to have a good time, odds are good nobody's going to want to join. I mean, how does that distinguish you from other guilds? You have to tell people why they need to join your guild, just like marketing companies have to figure out how to tell people why you need to buy their product. Once you figure out what exactly your guild has to offer others, you can make the advertising more specific, and it'll actually attract a crowd. You'll notice some of the more successful raiding guilds, for example, will post something like, "We're a 10-man raiding guild focused on clearing the latest content 2 nights a week and are currently in need of these classes," or "We're a battlegrounds guild that meets on this day in the afternoon to do 10 and 15-man pre-mades." Be aware that the majority of players aren't just looking for a group of people to play with for the sake of friends. In fact, most of the endgame players aren't really looking for friends at all, and are going to approach most of their guilds with a very self-interested business kind of mentality. They don't want to raid with you because they want to be your friend, they want to raid with you because they want loot. They want to PvP with you because they want honor. They want to level with you because it's faster than leveling solo. Online friendships tend to be incidental in most large guilds that are just looking to recruit. With that in mind, if you want to be the guild master or the head honcho of any of these organizations, you need to approach it with the understanding that leading a guild will be a second job, and you are not there to be friends with people. If this is problematic for you, then you should rethink wanting to lead a guild. Many leaders throughout history have struggled with the notion of whether it's better to be feared or to be loved. In a more modern sense, the struggle is whether to be respected or to be loved. In a perfect scenario, a leader would be both. However, when it comes down to it, you will have to pick between one or the other, and if you go the route of trying to be someone's friend, you're going to have to sacrifice some of that respect. Running a guild is much like running a business, except that your employees are not being paid, and will not come into the guild with the tacit understanding that you know more about your trade than they do. In fact, most people you recruit will probably assume they know just as much as you, if not more, and will be incredibly standoffish to the notion of being disciplined or taking criticism. If you spend your time trying to tiptoe around harsh words, people aren't going to listen to you, and when one person begins to act out of line unchecked, others will catch on to the idea that you haven't been able to control them, and they'll also start to goof off. If you think I'm wrong, think of how many times you've been in Vent and people have been chatting so much about non-game related things to the point that it's a detriment to the success of the battleground or the raid. When the person who tries to be everyone's friend tells everyone to clear Vent, they may do so for about 30 seconds, but it's likely that the chatter will just start back up and everyone will have to be told again and again to focus and be quiet. If you have to make a hard decision, people will act as if you've hurt their feelings because friendship is a contract of equality. This isn't to say that having someone on the team who can act as the friend in the leadership is a bad idea. In fact, I'd highly recommend having a second person to help you lead who can be the good cop to your bad cop. There's a very fine balancing point when leading between being nice and being assertive. and if you go too far in the assertive direction, you'll look like you're micromanaging and will come off as a douche. Too far in the nice direction and you'll look like you aren't willing to put your foot down when it's necessary and you'll come off as a wuss. The benefit to having a second-in-command who's nicer than you are is that when people have questions they want to bring up, they have someone they can go to that they feel more openly comfortable talking to, who can then pass the word on to you. I mean, ideally, people should be able to bring questions to you at any time, and should be given a fair chance to be heard. But not everyone is confident enough to speak up when they have something to say, and are very meek around authority of any kind. They need to have someone they feel more equal with to talk to. People need outlets to complain as well. I mean, it's a fact of life. However, complaints should always go up, not down. One of the ways you and your leaders will earn respect amongst your fellow guildmates is by communicating that you know what you're doing at all times, whether or not you really do. People will sense every subtle signal from their leaders and will change their reactions to everything based on it. So it only takes a leader saying how long a raid or game is taking before everyone begins to grumble that the group doesn't move fast enough, and they begin picking at each other about how much they suck every time there's a wipe or every time a game isn't a 10-minute win. This is especially true when it comes to talking about other people. Never ever complain about guildmates publicly. It's petty, and it will only make people think you're prone to bitching and moaning. If they agree with you, there's no need to complain, and if they disagree with you, it's just going to make them not want to listen to you that much more. As such, officers should only send complaints to other officers or to you. However, it also means that the further up in the leader ladder you are, the more complaints you're going to have to field. And you will get a ton of them. Ask people who used to raid Lee why they don't do it anymore, and the number one reason is not wanting to put up with the volumes of complaints they had to suffer through about the looting system or whatever the topic of the day happened to be. Now, I've only just begun to scratch the surface of starting a guild and comments about leading here, but as I'm keeping these to relatively short segments each week, let me just go ahead and say that if you have your own tips and comments on starting a guild or leading one, feel free to leave them in response to this video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.